Hello. I'm gonna wait for people to get on here. I got two things going on to get some people. Hello. So I'm going to wait. Um, Good evening as people join the live. So give me a little bit of time. Stick around. Have some great things I'll be talking about today. I didn't have my Monday minutes last week because school and work got to be so complex, but I am back this week and I will be definitely talking about some information, just sharing, I think, more so than teaching, because I teach throughout the day. I don't teach. I just really wanted to come on here and share some things that I believe will help some people in transitioning into different stages of their lives. And I know me personally that I am at a specific stage in my life that is very uncomfortable, but I wanted to share with other people because I'm sure other people are experiencing the same thing I'm experiencing, and especially I wanted to talk to young people who may be following me and going through some transitions. So this week I'll be starting my sixth series, kind of like I guess live on teaching the youth. And I use that title because I am an educator, and that's a part of who I am, as well as a mentor and a ton of other things. But I think my biggest purpose on this earth is to teach other people so then they can teach other people. And my main focus is people who are younger than me. However, I believe that the things that I'm talking about is relatable to all people. So I'm gonna say this: I got two lives going on. I'm live on Facebook and Instagram. So if I'm looking back and forth, just know that I'm live on two different platforms. I have to get used to this whole thing. This is something new for me, something that I am inexperienced in, but I'm learning as I go along. So please bear with me as I figure this out. But back to what I was saying, I just wanted to share. Well, I named it that because I'm sharing because of my purpose and who I feel like my message is really geared towards. And so if you're a parent, I don't think that this is not something that you can benefit from. I think anybody can benefit from the things that I'll discuss. I'm really talking from a personal standpoint and experiences. But I really, if you have a teenager, if you know a teenager, if you know a young adult, you mentor somebody, share this, tag them, whatever you got to do so they can join and listen. So two weeks ago, I had my first live for my Monday Minutes. Normally I do my Monday Minutes and I post them on YouTube. So lately I feel like I wanted to change up my platform and just kind of like talk and not have to be so kind of uniform and cut it down into certain minutes, to be able to just kind of be like outwardly talking. So this series is, of course, teaching the youth, as you can see from those who are on my Facebook. But today I'll be talking about transitioning and transitions. And so 2 weeks ago, I had a young lady on my live by the name of Trinity, who was one of my mentees. And she was talking about just real life things that she goes through as a teenager. And she transitions from a teenager to a young adult to be out in the real world, going to college and trying to figure out or maneuver what, through life. I think we all go through that stage, especially as a teenager. I think that's the most uncertain phase of your life, is when you're a teenager and you really don't know what to expect next, and you have a bunch of people telling you what to do, and you don't know if that's what you should be doing. And so I think teenagers go through a big transition, and being in education, I see it every day and talking to them. And I found that, when they go through transitions, it is very hard for them to understand that transitions are uncomfortable and to be willing and open to being uncomfortable. I think they live in a fantasy world in some cases, and they're not really ready or prepared for what's next. And so I think a lot of it creates anxiety. But I don't think it's only for teenagers. I think they experience it more at a heightened level because they're so young and they don't have so much control of the emotions as most adults will nowadays. I don't know, but most adults do. And so I think that their transition is just a little different from adults. But I think everybody goes through transition periods. So I wanted to talk about transitions because I think that most people, when they go through them, feel frustrated. They feel annoyed. They are bothered. They get discouraged, and some people even give up. And I think transitions aren't made because they're comfortable, but transitions are really a space and time that you are learning and figuring out things and preparing for the next phase. Most times when you go to transition, you're elevating to another level or you're coming to your own per se. And so I relate transition one day. I love butterflies, just for those who most of you guys don't know me personally, but I love butterflies. And if you know anything about butterflies, you know butterflies are caterpillars and caterpillars are butterflies. And caterpillars go through a transitional period and then they become butterflies. So I was really interested in seeing what that looked like physically, what it looked like. So I actually went on YouTube. You know, you can find everything on YouTube nowadays. And I went and looked at, hi, everybody who's just joining. I'm talking about, sorry, I got to get used to this. I see people jumping on. But I'm talking about transitional phases, like when you in a transitional phase and how you deal with them. But anyway, going back to the butterfly. So I looked up the video because I'm just nosy and I just wanted to know what it looked like for a caterpillar to transition to a butterfly. And so what I found is that it's not always short. Sometimes it could be the time period in the transition can vary depending on the climate, the butterfly, or the caterpillar, whatever you want to call it, as well as it's an ugly process. Like it looks very disgusting. If you have never seen it, go and look at it. Like it is very disgusting. I swear, it's like I was like grossed out when I watched it because I didn't realize how ugly the process is. But it reminded me of how I felt at that time. And I know that when I started writing my book, which I'll talk about in a little bit, when I started writing my book, I really didn't want to write a book. I was very, very hesitant on writing a book. I just felt like I was ill-equipped to write a book. I felt like I was unknowledgeable. But as I committed to the process and really relinquished what I thought I should be doing to what I felt like God was pushing me to do, I felt more comfortable and I became more confident and it became easier. But even after the book was out, everything was done, I'm now in another transition because just because the book is written doesn't mean people are reading it. And I know that there's information in the book that is impactful. And not to say that I don't have any sales at all, but it's just not where I want it to be. And so trying to figure out how to transition from being an educator and a teacher to being a full entrepreneur, because that's what my passion is truly in, coupled with, I love entrepreneurship. I love teaching it, but I want to do it full time. And transitioning from that and being an educator and finding a good combination or blend where it all makes sense for me in my life is a transition. It's hard. It's not easy. I get frustrated. Sometimes I don't want to do anything. And I think everybody goes through those periods of time. And so I really wanted to kind of like get on here and talk about some things that I realized. I took my little notes. I always keep my trusty journal. If you haven't joined my YouTube channel, please check out my YouTube channel. I talk about why journals are so important to me and why I think they should be really important to everybody. I mean, male, female, I think that journals kind of keep you focused and are a place where you can kind of put some things down. So that's just my side note. But I put on here, the first thing I put on here is transition is inevitable. Sorry. So I put on here that it's inevitable, meaning that it has to happen. Like unless you're in the same spot over and over, and you're okay with being in the same spot over the same place over and over again throughout life, transition is necessary for growth. And I think nobody wants to stay in the same place forever. So I feel like transition is one of those things that you have to go through. It's like one thing that you just have to go through. And so there are different ways you can go through transitions. You can go through transitions on your job. People go through transitions at school. People go through transitions even in their family. When you talk about death in a family, that's a transition. Going from having a mother or a father and being able to pick up the phone and call them whenever you want to not having one is a transition. And I think that people get so uncomfortable about transitions and don't look at the positive behind the transition. And so I encourage you to look at transitions in a different way. Like, what am I going through right now that I should learn from? What about where I was versus where I'm headed is important for me to learn in this period of time, because I think that small window of time is for you to regroup, to process. And I think that most times transitions are the most, I guess before the transition, normally you have accomplished something. Like, so for instance, for me, I accomplished writing my book. Like, that was a big thing. It was heavy on my mind and on my heart for like 3 years. Like, from 2015, it was like pounding on my head. Like, okay, write a book, write a book, right? Like, everywhere I turned, it was like signs. Somebody was writing a book. Somebody I didn't even know was writing a book was writing a book. Somebody was inviting me to something about somebody writing a book. It was like all these things, like glaring things, like big red signs, like, come on, you need to get this done. And so get into that process of writing it, getting, into the writing process was hard because I had work, I had school, and I was trying to find a good place to kind of juggle time, per se. So after I finished writing the book, that transition was hard. So I'm like, okay, what in this process am I supposed to learn? And a part of it was being consistent. My thing was I would start something and wouldn't finish it. So I knew that in that process, I had to learn consistency, which I still feel like I'm learning. Even in this process with these Monday Minute things that I really, truthfully, to be honest, I don't like this type of platform because I feel like it's so impersonal. I feel like I'm talking to myself, like, am I crazy? Like this, I'm not really into this type of, but I know in order to get the information out there, this is the platform that everybody's using, and I want to use it. I want to use it using my resources wisely, and I don't want to do it to video me dancing or singing a song or like doing things that really doesn't benefit me or anybody else that's watching them, but I want to use the platform to give information. So I felt like this is a transition for me. Like, me getting comfortable in this area is a transition. I'm totally, hi everybody, I see waves. Hi. But I know that this is a transition for me, so I have to be consistent and be willing to use this as a way of getting information to people. And I feel like people use it so haphazardly and don't use it properly, where I feel like I want to use it and be resourceful about how I'm using my resources. So look at transition, like, what am I supposed to get out of this period of time? What is it that I'm supposed to learn? If you just got fired from a job or you quit a job because you couldn't take it no more and it was stressful, because I'm almost there. What is it that you should learn to prepare yourself for the next period? What is it that you should do in that time frame? That don't mean you can sit around and collect your unemployment checks, but it's like, okay, this is a great time for me to start that business that I always wanted to start. This is a great time for me to go back to school. This is a great time for me to spend more time at home with my children. Like, whatever it is in that transition phase, maximize it, like, use it for your advantage. So when I look at the analogy of the butterfly, one thing I was talking to one of my girlfriends about, and I told her, I said, when I looked at the transition of a butterfly, what I realized, the thing that spoke the most volume to me, was that what was inside of the caterpillar was to make the butterfly had been in existence before the butterfly was created. So it was like the caterpillar had everything inside of them to become the butterfly. They just had to go through the transition. And that for me was like an aha moment, because I feel like in order to become what you want to become, you already have it in the inside of you. Now you have to actually go through the process and nurture it. And so, like, for me, I already had the ability to be an author and an entrepreneur inside of me. But the process of me actually getting to becoming an author was something that I had to nurture. There was something that I had to go after. There were things that I had to do to actually get to that point. So I thought that was a very, very interesting thing. And it was something that resonated in my spirit, because it made me look at things differently in respect to transition. Like, okay, in order to be successful or in order to be great or whatever you want to do, it's already on the inside of you. You just now have to figure out how you can tap into that to expose it. Hi, I see people saying hi. I'm not really good at reading comments and talking like, so I'm gonna say hi, and I'm gonna read the comments when I finish because I got like a little ADHD. I can't focus, but hi. Anyway, so this is why I keep talking about stuff. But so I think that the one thing about so it's a 2-part series. So in transition, there is always going to be a uncomfortable position when you're in transition. You're always going to be uncomfortable when you're in transition. Transition, that's first. The second thing is, although you're uncomfortable, know that whatever it is that you're going towards or the goal that you have, you already are equipped with it inside of you. So you already have the ability to be that great person or to be that thing that you want to be, even if you're uncertain. So your job in the transition phase is to sit down and figure out exactly what you ought to learn to prepare yourself for that next period of life. And so there's some key things that before I get off of here, because I'm not going to spend a long time on here, I want to kind of like point out that are crucial to transitions. Prayer for me is a must. And for those who don't know God or don't love God, I'm sorry, I do. But praying is really just communicating with your Heavenly Father, well, my Heavenly Father, your Heavenly Father, whatever. It's really just a form of communication and talking to Him and letting Him know where you are in life and what you are asking Him for or what you need peace about. So for me, my prayer wasn't to help me write a book. It was to help me see how this fits with my purpose, or to help me grow in this process, help me be confident in doing what I'm doing. So prayer is the first thing that I do. In transition, look at what drives you. What are you drawn to, or what gives you the most joy? I think that when you're in transition periods, I always tell my students, because I deal with mostly upperclassmen in high school. And so when I'm definitely talking to my 11th graders and my seniors or juniors and seniors, and they're getting ready to prepare themselves for the workforce, school, whatever it is, my biggest question to them is, okay, do you know what you're doing next? That's the first question. And most of them say no. I mean, like 9 out of 10 of them say they have no clue what they're doing after high school. Even the ones who are like straight A students and all of that, they still are uncertain about what school they should select. You know, like it's always an uncertainty. So I always ask them that question. They're always like, well, I don't know, Miss Johnson, I have these options, and I break it down to them. Okay, well, what's the thing that you love the most? What do you want to accomplish when you go there? So what school do you think fits you the best? What do they have to offer you? What is your major? What are the things you want to do in life? And so they may say health. And I'm like, have you ever had experience in working in the health field? No. Have you ever thought about, going to the local hospital and volunteering? How do I do that? Look online, and we'll go online and we'll find out ways they can volunteer, because in one respect, they think that they may want to do something, but when they get into that position, they may hate it. And so I always try to talk to them and make it in plain terms, like, what is it that you want? And it's so okay to not know what you want, but the thing that is not okay to sit on your butt and not to do anything about figuring out what you want. So my thing is, even if you don't know what you want in the transition period, or you don't know what job you should go after or what you should do next, why don't you experiment? Go out and get experience in those things. If you don't know if you want to be in human resources or executive assistant, why not look it up? Why not take some courses? Because that is what the transition period is for. It's for you to learn and grow and mature so that, again, you can be prepared for the next phase. So then my other thing is asking for help and guidance when necessary. Too many people are too scared to ask other people to help them to get to the next level. I am one of them. I am one of those people who want to figure it out on their own. It's not that I don't need people, because I know I need other people's help, but I'm like, I'll figure it out. I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll figure it out. But it's a lot of times you need other people who have been where you are, who are experiencing things that you haven't yet experienced, or they have reached a goal that you want to reach out to them to find out what they had to do to get there. And so I think that communicating and talking to other people who are wiser and more seasoned than you is important in that transition period as well. And then using your resources. Like, you have like this. live and all of this. Like, I'm going to use my resources. If I want to get more information out about my book, about my business, about my mentoring programs that I'll be offering, I have to create a platform for myself. And what better way than using a free platform that millions of people are on from all around the world? I'm going to use it. And so use your resources to benefit you. That could be, if there's a networking opportunity, go to the networking opportunity. I mean, it's so many different things you can do, but just sitting on your butt and not doing anything and saying, woe is me, is not where it's at. All right. Then the other thing is, I said, make a plan, but be flexible. Because everybody say, make a plan, stick to it, blah, 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 blah. But I found out I make plans, and these plans don't always come through, or things change. And so I have to reshift what the plan that I have initially set. So I say, make a plan in your transitional. What's next? Okay, what do you plan to do to get to the next place or where you're going? But be willing to be okay with the change in the plan. And then the last thing I said, be committed to change. And I say be committed to change because you're going through the transition because on the other side of that transition is something different. And so be okay with the change that will probably occur after you go through a transitional period. So I feel like I have shared all that I wanted to share today. I just really wanted to, I really want to start doing more lives and talking, and hopefully I can get this thing down where I can take questions and answer. If anybody has any questions or have any comments, please feel free to put out. Oh, thank you, me. Oh, thank you, honey. Hi, hi. I'm just saying, some these people may be gone, and I don't even know. How about that? I don't know if he's still on. Thank you. Thanks, Sean. So I don't know if people still on here, but please put comments if you have any questions. Please put them below. Again, I just thought I would come over here and share for me some things that I thought was I'm learning and have learned through transitional periods. Before I leave, I cannot leave without shouting out my book, The Material Girl. I actually talk about me going through transition in my book. It is in chapter, I want to say chapter 10. No, it's in chapter 9. Yeah, I talk about transition in chapter 9 of my book. I talk about how I went through transition when I left college and what I experienced in that transition and how it was difficult and how I was committed to change. So I was so focused on figuring out what was next that I was so open to opportunities. And because I was open to opportunities came to me. And that's my next prayer for my life, is that I won't have to go after the next job and that the next job will come after me. Even in education, I'm learning, and I've had last week was a really difficult week for me last week at work, especially. And but I've learned things from it. I went after a job that I did not get. I'm not salty about not getting the job. I think I'm more salty because I felt like I was more than qualified for a position that I felt like just I have to be politically correct. So that's why I'm hesitant on saying what I'm going to say. But I just feel like I was qualified for a position that I did not receive. I'll leave it as that. And it discouraged me because I felt like I knew I had all the capabilities to do it, but then somebody told me that I didn't because they didn't give me the job. So it was like kind of like the devil playing with me, like, oh, girl, you don't have it. You're not ready. You're not there yet. But I know I've done everything and I've prepared myself and I've done what I need to do. So then my question, instead of being discouraged, was, what do I do next? Well, what's next for me? So then I had to regroup and start thinking about what jobs I really want to apply for. What jobs do I want to go after? Do I want to stay in the public school sector? Do I want to look at nonprofits? So transition is difficult. It can make you feel like you're inadequate. It can make you feel like you're going backwards and going forwards. But I'm learning that you have to always be committed and open to seeing different opportunities and possibilities that may come your way. So I'm done. I really appreciate all those who joined. Thank you. Please share my video If you have any comments, I'm going to sign off. But if you have any comments, I'll read them and I'll respond to them. I don't know. My live will stay on here for, I guess, about 24 hours. I don't know how we use Instagram now. I know Facebook, you can comment and I can reply back to it. But I don't know how Instagram does. But works. But please, if you can't comment on the video, just send me a DM and I'll respond if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Thank you again for joining and hope you come back next time.